Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition comes to you from London. Yes, I'm back after 2 months away. Yeah, it's very nice to be back at my desk with all my books. And boy, what a start to the week it's been with markets. We put out our energy report to energy clients earlier. We're seeing some very, very big changes there. Crude oil down about 5%. Gas prices down anywhere between 10 and 15, 16%. So really big changes in energy that went out to clients earlier. But let's take a look at the more general markets. Big reactions on Friday, and we've seen the dollar. This is my daily chart, so that's my medium call. The weekly chart is the longer term picture, and the 60-minute chart is the shorter term picture. And these dramatic moves will have changed the short-term charts, but really have had little impact on the longer-term charts. The trends are still intact. So first of all, we look at the dollar. That collapse is, it is what it is, and the fact is that dollar did make the 4-year low. If we look at the weekly chart, we've activated that downside target back in 2025. So, the reality is that's where we're expecting to head, and we are just progressively trending lower there. And we've got this downside target on the 60-minute chart as well, and we have seen a little bit of a recovery there on the daily chart. On the 60-minute chart, we're back up through the cloud, so we are just in a short-term uptrend. But we don't, these counter trend moves don't last for long. So the euro is weaker. The Japanese yen, which has been we've seen that intervention over the last week. That's now going the other way, where we're seeing the yen falling again against the dollar. So sterling sitting around that 135 level. So really back below the cloud. That's weaker against just improved dollar. Bitcoin, of course, that is still has activated those downside targets. That's the 60-minute chart. The daily chart on Bitcoin, big downside targets to 55,000. That's been activated, and we've got the shorter term targets as well. And don't forget, you can actually look at these on TradingView. So there's the Bitcoin targets on TradingView, and I'm running on TradingView updaters, running on Bloomberg, and you can run on Refinitiv, LSEG. So the choice is yours. And here we see the gold target in Bloomberg. Again, we're seeing targets there for Japan. So the choice is yours where you want to use the targets. But I'm using them in Updater because I can move them around a bit more quickly. So we're seeing Bitcoin. We've got the futures down this morning quite significantly. The Nasdaq future down 1%. We did activate that upside target on the future, and on the cash market, we're seeing here that we did activate that just more recently, but we're failing to make a new high on the Nasdaq. That is the concern for markets, and of course, with the turmoil that we're seeing in the bond markets, that is a risk for equities, and we are seeing futures down, Nasdaq futures down 1% today. So we're seeing the FTSE down very slightly. The DAX is flat, and so really big changes there. We have seen the Hang Seng coming back 2%. That did have a very good week last week, breaking out, but we're back into the range. But the key thing is we broke out, we activated the upside targets. So still one of the more positive looking markets, and China down 2.5% as well, but still has great upside targets. The Aussie market down 1%, so we're just seeing across the board a bit of an effect there. Brent crude down 5% on the daily chart. We did activate an upside target, but we've got a very mixed picture for Brent crude. And the key thing is the weekly chart. If we look at that weekly chart, that 70 level is really critical. Above 70, we're more bullish. Below 70, we're more bearish. And we can see we've got really still below the weekly cloud. So that is a bearish picture. And if we look at the 60-minute, we've activated a downside target. So we're expecting a fairly bad week for Brent. Taking a look at some of the other commodities, sugar, that's been pretty badly hit. We've got downside target just activated on the 60-minute. We've got downside targets on the daily. Looks like we will make new lows there. Now, of course, the big story is gold. and that pulled back very dramatically on Friday. It's continued a bit this morning. We're down another 5%. But is the trend over? Well, we look at the weekly chart, it's barely a glitch. And so really that long-term trend is in place. The key thing to remember is that every pullback in gold has presented the ability to create a new upside target. These targets are all generated off thrusts, off lows. So if we see a recovery in gold, we're still bullish above the cloud. If we see a recovery in gold, that's where we will expect to see a new target generated. It'll be very interesting to see where that goes to, but you'll see it first on the 60-minute chart. So that's going to be quite key. And as I say, you can see those charts on your Bloomberg. It's Apslin Go on Bloomberg, so you watch the targets there, or on your TradingView. So on TradingView, we've got Bitcoin. Google is one of the star performers there from the Mag 7, still our best call for the Mag 7, and we see the gold targets there as well. So choice is yours. Now, so silver also pulling back down 8%. Downside targets met, a new downside target. So that is a worry for silver. It looks like we haven't yet found the floor. Previous support level at around $70 being tested. It'll be very interesting to see how the new price action builds. But that's a very dramatic move for silver. And platinum, we're also seeing a big pullback, having met those targets. The moves happen faster than the 2-to-1 ratio that we normally use. You can adjust those ratios, of course. So looking at the treasury yields, we're seeing bond markets. Those targets are still in place. So whilst we're seeing a pullback in yields, and again, we can look at those in Bloomberg. Here's the Japan 40-year targets to 4.2, 4.18. That's 185. That's a cluster, double targets pointing to that area. That's very worrying for Japan, the most indebted country in the world. So watching those bond markets, but we are seeing a little bit of respite today. Taking a look at the Mag 7, Apple still looking bearish below the cloud, failing to make a new high, so that's bad news. We did see some pretty big falls. Meta down nearly 3% on Friday, but the reality is they were up 10%, so just retracing some of that move. Nvidia, many of you will know if you've watched my long-term calls for 2026, Nvidia is a stock that I am concerned about. We have activated a new upside target, so that is good news, but we've got a mixed picture. We are below the cloud, and the failure to make a new high is a worry for Mag 7. Tesla up 3.3%. Again, a mixed picture, mixed targets, and we are teetering with the cloud, and we've failed to make we did make just a little bit of a new high, but we are struggling. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, we are still bearish below the cloud there as well. So you've got to watch that and watch those targets. And again, you can do those on your TradingView. So a very mixed picture all round. Pretty bearish start to the week. But remember, these longer term trends are unaffected. The big question for gold and silver is going to be, can we find a floor? Will we see new upside targets and price action building? Many people will see this as an entry opportunity. The longer term bulls will look at it that way, but we've got to watch the charts, keep an eye on the targets. And of course, if you're trading any of this, then you want to be watching the 1 minute target. So here, for example, is Brent crude. These are the 1 minute targets generated on the price today. So if you're trading Bitcoin, any of these things, you need to be keeping an eye on your 1 minute targets. Watch the targets. That's going to be the start of the week. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.